what this chapter is bringing us. All right. We're going to start with your basic frequency distribution. When we organize your data, one of the things we look at is the spread of your data, like the min and the max. How long is this gonna take us? How many classes? How many intervals are we gonna need? Is it what shape it is? Where's the center of your data located? These are really important parts when we start organizing. We're going to begin with your frequency distribution. And your frequency distribution is just that table. This is the table that you just saw that we looked at on page 39. It's a table that shows your classes, or in other words, your intervals. We call them, in statistics, we call them classes. In 8th grade, 9th grade, you might have called them intervals. In 8th grade, 9th grade, whenever you did these, we pretty much set the intervals up and you found your data. In statistics, there's a certain way to find your intervals. So we're going to have to follow a little formula when we find your intervals. Therefore, we need to know where your lowest limit is, where your upper limit is, how big is each class, your number of classes, and your range of data. We're going to need to know all these parts. This is the lowest limit, the smallest number that can belong in this, the largest limit, the highest number that can belong. Your class width is the difference between two intervals. Is it very different, not very, but a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We kind of fine-tune this.
So it's not the range?
The range is the difference between the max and the min. That didn't change. Your maximum and your minimum, when you subtract them, that is your range. That gives you how spread apart is your data. When we do one, you'll see this work a little bit. Just to let you know, we're going to head through all those points. Here's the most important part that you have to know. To find your class width, you have to take, and you're going to have to do this with every graph that you make, because we don't give you the intervals. You're going to take your maximum entry minus your minimum. This is your range. This right here is your range. And you're going to divide it by the number of classes. That will tell you. Generally, your classes are anywhere between 5 and 10. Your classes meaning your bars. You certainly don't want less than 5, because then you're really not showing by the difference, the black one. More than 10 really kind of gives you too many bars. I'm not sure. They might go to 12. They might say 5 to 12. I'm not sure what they say. But I would keep it, they say between 5 and 20. I would say between 5 and 10. We don't really go over 10 in here. 5 and 20, that's really kind of spreading your data out pretty far. So we're going to take this and we're going to find the class width. And you might want to write on your paper, you always round up to the nearest whole number. When we do the divide, we round up to the nearest whole number. Okay? And we're going to take a look at this as we set these up. I like the book, the way it goes. When it starts a chapter, you're going to see it starting in this chapter. A lot of times it starts with one concept. And that's your first example. And then it builds on it in your second example. And then your third example, it builds on more and more. So you kind of get to see it over and over. The triad part of it is the part that we'll do from the 50 ages, and we'll carry that through too. So guidelines. We need to determine the number of classes, and they will be given to you. I'll tell you, or the book will tell you. We need to find the class width, max minus the min, divide by how many classes we have, and we round up. We start with the lowest one, and we add. Say our data looks like this. Okay, say we have to make, I'm just going to say two classes right now. We want to subtract your min minus your max. Your max minus your min. And we're going to divide by 2, which we're never going to do 2, but this will just make it easier. So we subtract these, we divide by 2, and you're going to get 16.5, and you're going to round up. How you start is this. You're going to start with your lowest, and you're going to add your class width right here. And you're going to keep adding your class width if we had more than these. We add our class width through here. This would be 44 if we did a number of more classes. So your class width is the difference between intervals. When we do this, you're going to see it a little bit better. We make a tally, you count, you tally, and you count up your tallies to find your frequency. Hold on to the midpoint thought. What? Okay, you should even have that on your note page. Those you should have on your note page. So we're going to start with this. Example 1.
Now we're on that chart?
Nope, don't use your chart. This is the example. Use your chart when we do try it yourself number 2. That's gonna. I want to demonstrate how this works first.
So we don't have this.
You don't have to. No. If you want to, I should have duplicated it and given you 2 of them. Yes. Okay. So let's just walk through one, and then we're going to do yours on your chart. So we'll walk through this one. It says the data set lists the prices in dollars of 30 GPSs, your navigating systems. You're going to construct a frequency distribution that has 7 classes. We want to make this table with 7 classes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to capture this piece of information down here. Okay, 7 classes. We're going to find your minimum. Tell me what your minimum, your lowest entry is.
65.
65, you sure? What's your maximum entry? 340. Everybody agree? Okay. Number of classes? 7. Okay, now we do your range. We do your max minus your min. My boards. The classes will tell you. If I scroll this up, it's going to erase this. There's 7 classes. Let me just fix that a little. What is 340 minus 65? 275. Over your number of classes. What's 275 divided by 7? Now, the deal is, we always round up to the next whole number. 39?
Yeah, 42.
39, 59, thank you. Round up to the next whole number. So what's it going to be?
39.
But round up to the next whole number. Always. Don't use your rule of rounding. Always round up to the next whole number. If you use your rule of rounding, you could possibly miss your last piece of data. Now, we take your smallest entry and we start right here. Don't write this on your chart because we're going to do the try it one on your chart. I just want you to see how this works. We're going to add your class width. So I'm going to take a calculator and I'm going to add down 30 or 40 each time. Each time you come down, you're going to add 40. Add 40. This is your 40. Add 40 again. Add 40. You keep adding 40 all the way down. Okay? Easiest way. Now, to make your interval, what's the number that comes before 105?
Yep.
What comes right before 105? Okay? Now, add 40 all the way down. There's your classes. We don't make them up like we did in the younger days. We don't automatically go like 0 to 9, 10 to 19. We start with our min, and we figure out our max, and we find out how many classes we want, and our minimum entry always starts right here. And then we add down. The tally, you do the exact same way you always did. 128, you find where 128 fits in. 100, find where 100 fits in. You tally all the way down. 180, 150. Everybody with me? 200. Remember doing this part? Yeah.
Why is it 104 and not 105? Why would it go straight to 100?
It's the number before 105. You actually, watch this. 104 minus 65, with me, it's 39 plus 1. 40, because this is what happens. If I have from 5 to 9, how many numbers are in between there? 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the rule is, when you subtract it, then you have to add 1. So rather than you add the 40 here, just take the one that comes right before this, and that's the easiest way to start. Easiest way to start. Does everybody see what Mariah just asked? Because that's important. This is where everybody falls into a trap. If you get your numbers wrong, everything will be wrong. Really? Alright. Now, find your frequency. At the end, if you take a look at page 41, they write their frequencies all the way down. You just tally up your frequencies. Okay? Good? Yes?
How do you get the second side again on the class?
The second side?
Yes.
The easiest way to do it is take this number, and what number comes before that?
Oh,
So now you go 65 to 104, 105 to 144. You see it?
can we do that with every second number?
Well, if you can, or you can add your class width all the way down here as well. And you can add 40 all the way down. Once you find your class width, the beginnings have to be 40, the ends have to be 40. You can do it either way.
What's the class with?
Wait, one second. Yeah, and then you can just keep adding 40 all the way down.
What's your class with?
Your class width only affects you right here. This is going to help you with your number of classes. Right here is going to determine your class width. Your class width will change with every problem. So what you want to do, Damani, is just start and add your class width.
And then on the other side, you subtract the
1
and then go down.
and add your class width.
Got
Your class width will change with every problem, but the process stays the same. Okay?
it.
So we're going to work yours out now.
I'm going to try it.
Now we're on the try it, guys. So this came from, this is what I want you to do with me. This came from the introduction to this chapter. This is the ages of the 50 most popular women in the world in 2012. These are their ages. So we're going to find your minimum age first. So what's your minimum age? Now, remember, this data was nice. They gave it to you in order. Sometimes your data is not in order. Like the one before this, right? That one was not in order. So you're going to have to bounce around a little bit. This one was nice so you could see all the repeating ages and you could see your minimum. What's your maximum age? Okay? And it wants us to do 7 classes. The problem tells us the number of classes. So we have to find, this is the information we take out. So we have to find the max minus the min over the number of classes. It's easy, but I can't tell you how many kids mess this up. When you mess this up, you start with the wrong number, your whole graph is wrong. So this becomes 60 over 7. When you divide it, it's 8 point something, right? So 8 point what? The problem gave us number 7. The problem at the top of the page. At the top of page 42. Guys, at the top of page 42, it told us use 7 classes.
Is that okay? Where do you find the classes?
If you look at the top of page 42, where it told us the problem, it told us 7 classes. See it? In the problem. It says there will be 7 classes. I forgot to write it up here. Okay, so what do we do with 8.6? Round it to 9. Your class width is therefore going to be 9. Now, when we start this, we're going to start with your lowest level. We're going to add 9 down, all the way down. When you add 9, realize what it's doing. It's stopping the digit before. So 44. So 53. 62. 71. 80. We got to go to 7 classes. That's it. I left a place for totals in here. Okay. Bring this up the one before. So what comes before 35?
54.
Add 9 all the way down. Or you can use the one before it, whichever one works out easier. Just at the last one, you're going to have to add 9. When you're adding 9, you're coming to the one answer before it.
Why are you stopping one before?
Well, I just started this boundary right here. Remember, when you subtract in your class, you're going to get 8, but you have to add 1. Because it works out that way. You subtract and add 1. Otherwise, it doesn't count either the beginning or the end. Okay, so now, everybody work on the tally. See if we come up with the same. Everybody work on your tally. See if we... Alright, so put your frequencies here. You okay with your frequencies? Alright, get your retally, and now we put your frequencies here. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to your midpoints. I'm going to go back and talk about midpoints. Everybody got the tallies?
Yeah.
Alright, let's go back and talk midpoints. The midpoint of a class just means we want to find just that, the midpoint. So to find the midpoint of anything, you add the 2 together, you divide by 2. So in your chart, let's get to your chart. That part is always... Oh, I don't want it. Okay. I did 450.
No, there was supposed to be 451.
451. Thank you. And not an extra 56. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Now, the one thing we should do is tally this up. What should this equal? 50. If this doesn't equal 50, we did something wrong. And Leslie found my mistake. I had an extra 56, but I was missing a 51. And that would have changed it. Well, actually, yep, it would have changed it because they were in 2 different brackets. So good for catching that. Now, your midpoints. Your midpoint says add the 2 together. 26 plus 34 and then divide this by 2. So add this together for me. That is divided by 2. 60 divided by 2 is 30. So where it says midpoint, you're going to say 30. Now, you can do this for every class, or you can take your class width and add it all the way down. What's our class width? 9. Add 9 all the way down.
I was about to do so much math.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but all you have to do is use your class width now, because if your endpoints are 30 apart, your midpoints have to be 30 apart. So it's a shortcut. So all the way down, add 9. It just makes your life a little bit easier.
That's a bad.
Much, much easier. Okay. So here's our midpoints. Now, the reason we use midpoints, and let me just explain a little bit about your histograms. When you did histograms, say here's my x-axis. Guys, if I start this at 26 and I go 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, blah, 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 blah. So let's say this is 34. Here's my bar. From here to here. Okay? My next one starts at 35. I got a gap from here to 43. We never leave gaps between our bars. But what happens is this is a discrete measurement. These measurements are all discrete. All these numbers, they're all whole numbers. There's no in-betweens. So when you use a midpoint, instead of doing this, here's your midpoint, 30. Here's your midpoint, 39. Now your bars can touch. See the difference? You have a gap right here because these are discrete values. So when we use our midpoint, it actually gives us no gap. We'll never find that value of 34.5. We'll never see a 34.5 in your data. So that's okay. Nothing ever comes there. No part of your data will be recorded there. It'll only be recorded in discrete values. But this takes care of, don't leave a gap in my numbers. Tomorrow we're going to set a class boundary. A class boundary also takes those bars and expands them a little bit so that they're going to be touching as well. So today I just basically wanted to get your table set up with your classes and get that part done. Do you have any questions?